In the last stream, we were working on kind of replacing our simple storage network, at least a little bit, with the new Applied Energistics 2 system, which between streams I have gone ahead and tidied up just a little bit. We have our ME drive here, holding all of our 1K storage cells. We have our ME crafting terminal, which is not necessarily so useful now because we have our wireless crafting grid, which is why we also have this wireless access point to allow us to access all of the items that we have in all of our storage systems wirelessly, no matter where we are in the base. And really all I've done between streams is kind of reconfigured stuff to be down beneath the platform here. So I've moved the controller down underground. I've moved the security terminal. This does need to stay connected to the system. And whenever you move it, you do have to rerun the wireless crafting terminal through it. So you just put it in here again and it will reconnect to the system. I've also moved the ender chest that is importing all of our ore processing resources to the bottom of the platform as well. Again, just to make things look a little bit nicer. And then I also moved the storage network route over just a little bit because right now we are still using the simple storage network mod to automate a lot of the exporting and importing that is going on around the base. Now, the plan for today's stream is going to be to delve a little bit deeper into Applied Energistics 2 and really take advantage of the whole reason that we moved over to the mod in the first place, and that is auto-crafting. Because as we saw in the last stream, if we're going to complete the pack and if we're going to get 16 final Technium Ingots, there's a lot of crafting that needs to be done, and it's going to make a lot more sense if we teach our system to kind of do that for us. And so I think what I am going to do is I'm probably going to get rid of these diamond chests here to make room for some new machines that we're going to use specifically for auto-crafting with the AE2 system, and also to give us some room for some molecular assemblers and some ME interfaces. These are used to actually auto-craft just regular crafting recipes with AE2. Before we can do that, we do have a slight problem, and that is that in the last stream, I did take out the void upgrade that we previously had in the oak plank drawer here. The reason I did that is because all of our oak logs were getting turned into planks and then deleted. What I didn't do is I didn't put a void upgrade onto this log drawer, which means now we have 12 diamond chests that are full to the brim with logs, which is not ideal. And so real quick, the first thing I would like to do here is throw on a TFI storage upgrade, maybe even 2 or 3, onto this drawer here, grab another void upgrade, throw that onto here as well, and then I'm just going to kind of delete all of the logs that are in all of these diamond chests here, because I don't think we're going to need these going forward, and I'd much rather we have the space. Now, this is going to be difficult. We could leave those there for 5 minutes and they would get deleted, but from a lag standpoint, I think what I might do is just kind of temporarily do something like this and just throw everything into the trash can. I did throw away the diamond chests there, which is somewhat wasteful. Also, real quick, just let me dump the stuff that I actually want to keep into these chests so that I don't accidentally throw those in the trash either. But to be fair, we have thousands of diamonds at this point, and making more diamond chests is really not going to be that difficult. I don't think it's worth trying to sift through all the logs to actually get them back. So let me quickly get rid of all these diamond chests, and then we'll look at making some of those molecular assemblers. All right, so once we've gotten rid of all of those chests, let's look at getting some basic auto-crafting up and running. So the molecular assembler is where that basic auto-crafting takes place, and we're going to need a lot of these formation cores and annihilation cores in today's episode, and so I feel like we should just make a bunch of these right from the get-go. We do have a fair amount of Fluix crystals, however, I think it's almost certain that we're going to need more than 56 Fluix crystals. Today they're used in every aspect of Applied Energistics, and so once again, let's grab maybe some more redstone dust. We should have, hopefully, at least 1 stack, if not almost 2, in this chest here. Whilst we're here, I feel like we might as well get even more charged nether quartz cooking inside of this chest. If we do something like this, we can just leave those to slowly but surely charge over time, and if we do need more in the future, we can come and get them. And then back over here, we can do the same thing we did in the last episode with the redstone, the nether quartz, and the charged Certus quartz. And then once we've got a decent amount of that, we can also get some of this crushing, and that's going to allow us to make hopefully a decent amount of formation and annihilation cores to make a decent number of molecular assemblers and pattern providers. I incorrectly said earlier that we needed ME interfaces. This used to be the case in older versions of modded Minecraft, but in new versions of AE2, you actually need these pattern providers here. The recipe for them isn't really that much different. The interface requires the formation core, the annihilation core, iron, and glass. The pattern provider is the same recipe, but instead of requiring glass, it just requires crafting tables, which, if anything, makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so 32 of each of these later, we should now be able to make our molecular assembler. I'm also going to make just a few stacks of crafting tables here, again, just to have them ready to go, and I'll also make some more quartz glass as well. How much quartz glass do we have? We've got 49. We might need more at some point today, but for now, that will do the trick. And boom, we get a pattern provider and a molecular assembler. Now, the way that this works is we can place down our molecular assembler, and then adjacent to that, we place down our pattern provider. And that pattern provider can provide patterns to this molecular assembler. Now, in order to actually make patterns, we need to get ourselves another screen, specifically the pattern encoding terminal. For this, we need another ME regular terminal, an ME crafting terminal, along with an engineering processor. So I did this last episode, and it was a mistake. However, now that we do have access to the wireless crafting grid, I'm fairly certain that we can somewhat safely get rid of this ME crafting terminal, because now we can craft in here, and we can use that ME crafting terminal to craft the pattern encoding terminal, which we can then place down like this. And so now in here, we have an interface that allows us to encode patterns. Patterns are crafted like this with glowstone, so does quartz, quartz glass, and iron. We'll make a few of these for now, although again, we're going to need a lot of them, I think, before the end of the episode. We do have a bunch of glowstone down on the lower platform here. Right now, our applied energetic system doesn't have access to that glowstone, but our simple storage network system does. That is something I'm going to try and fix at some point later on in the episode, because we are going to need access to that glowstone for future auto-crafting. But back over here, what we should now be able to do is teach our molecular assembler how to craft certain items. For example, a real basic recipe that we can teach is the recipe for a crafting table. So if we grab some oak planks, we can do something like this. And over here, we put in the blank pattern and we click encode. And so now we have a crafting pattern that knows how to craft a crafting table. From there, we want to put our pattern into the pattern provider, and now the pattern provider should be able to use the molecular assembler to complete that craft. To make this all work, we do, of course, have to connect it up to our system. So let me grab some Flux cable, and let's do something like this. You'll know it's working when this starts glowing and flashing all of the different colors. And now, if we come back into here and we type in craft, you can see that next to the crafting table is a little plus sign. So if we take out all of the crafting tables that we made earlier, you can see now that unlike normally, where you take everything out and it just disappears, now it says craft. And if we go ahead and click on it, click next, and click start, it would craft a crafting table. However, in order to actually complete this crafting table, we need a crafting CPU. So if we type in crafting storage, this right here is what we need in order to complete the craft. So you'll see that when we tried to craft that here, when we click next, it says it requires 22 bytes. If we wanted to craft a lot of stuff, for example, if I wanted to craft 1,000 crafting tables, this requires 6,000 bytes. And basically, the bigger the craft, or the more complex the craft, the more bytes it's going to use, and the bigger CPU you're going to need to actually make that craft happen. For now, the 1K crafting storage here should do the trick. To make this, we need to get ourselves a crafting unit, which is easy enough. It's some processors, some iron, and some Flux cable. And then to make it into a 1K crafting storage, we need a 1K ME storage component, which we made in the last episode for our 1K disks. And boom, we have a crafting storage, which for now, I will temporarily place right about here. So now that that's connected, we should now be able to complete that previous craft. If we click here, we click next, you'll see now there is a CPU available. You can select which one you want to use if you want. You're going to have multiple of these in your network, but for us, we only have the one, and leaving it on automatic is fine. If we click start and wait, it's going to go ahead and craft for us a crafting table. Nice, and it just made it, which is pretty cool. So now, if we did the same again, let's say we tried to craft 100 and start, over here we can see that process happening. You'll see that the pattern provider is sending the required items over to the molecular assembler, and the molecular assembler is doing the crafting. You can put acceleration cards into the molecular assembler, like this, to make it faster at making whatever item it is that it's making, and that's kind of the basics of auto crafting. You'll see here the crafting tables are coming in, and we can do that for kind of any recipe that we like. Now, there are two ways we can do this with the ME pattern providers and the molecular assemblers. One way gets you speed, the other way gets you capacity, because you'll notice there are 6 sides to the molecular assembler, and right now we only have one pattern provider down. What you can do, and what I think we are going to do, is you can make multiple pattern providers and put multiple pattern providers onto one molecular assembler like this, because the first pattern provider only gives you space for 9 crafting recipes, whereas every other pattern provider that you add gives you space for 9 more crafting recipes. The only downside to this, of course, is that you're kind of limited by how fast the molecular assembler goes. If you try to request something that requires a bunch of crafts and all of the crafts are done in the same molecular assembler, it's going to take a little bit of time for that craft to happen. Alternatively, what you can also do, that we're not going to do but is possible, is you can put multiple molecular assemblers around one pattern provider. At that point, you do also have to use a co-processing unit, which is this guy down here, but that allows you to spread the craft over multiple molecular assemblers and really speed up the rate at which things are made. The final thing that we kind of need to go over before we can start setting up some autocrafting for ourselves is the autocrafting using machines, which is going to be a big part of this setup, because one of the first things that I would like to autocraft is the resonant integral component, and a lot of what is made here requires machine crafting. For example, the hardened glass is something we're going to have to automate because it's required to make the component. And so to automate this, we have to send some steel dust, some obsidian, and some sand to an induction smelter, so we'll make another induction smelter. We also need steel dust, which means we could probably do with automating a pulverizer as well. So real quick, can we get ourselves 2 more machine frames? We totally can. Fantastic. Do we then have what it takes to make another induction smelter and another pulverizer? I feel like we should at this point in time. I think we're pretty flush with most of the resources needed to make these machines. It seems like the only thing we're missing here is sand, of all things, which again is one of those problem resources that is connected to our simple storage network, I think, but isn't connected to our AE2 system. Again, something we are going to fix hopefully later on in today's episode, but let's grab that. Also, at some point today, I do need to upgrade this cobblestone setup as well. All of our sand is being taken. Are we using glass that fast? Maybe. Let me take that sand out of here, though, and we'll use that over here to make ourselves that induction smelter. So the idea here is that we can place these machines down, and I'm going to place them down where our chests used to be. So let's do something like this and like this. And the idea here is kind of much of the same. If we take our pattern provider, we can place these pattern providers down to insert items into these machines. So I think what we'll do here is we'll get rid of this crafting table, and I'm going to put these pattern providers down on the back like this. I then think, if I'm not mistaken, you can then rotate these by right-clicking till the arrow shows up, and then from there you can right-click to kind of rotate until it points towards the machine you want it to send the items to. And then from there, we are going to have to put down, I believe, an item importer as well, because I think that the way this used to work is you could export the items directly to the ME interface, and that would work. But now that we're using these pattern providers in the new version, I don't think that works. So what I think we can do to make our lives easier here is we can get another ender chest, and we can have all of the items that we make kind of just pumped directly towards that ender chest. For that to work, we are going to need to get at least a few more blaze rods. Thankfully, we do still have our metal press over here. And whoops, I do need to get rid of that wiring at this point. We don't really need it hanging around. But we're going to take that, and what we're going to do is we're going to set the back of these machines to input. So on here, the back is going to be blue. And in here, we're going to tell the pattern provider how to make certain items. For example, one of the things that we need to be able to make is steel dust. So over here, we should be able to just click the little encode pattern, and you'll notice that it's swapped there from a crafting pattern to a processing pattern, because this is not a regular crafting recipe, it's a processing recipe. So if you're doing something in a machine, if you're wanting to encode a pattern for a machine, you need to be on the processing pattern section, then encode, and we now have a pattern that tells our system that if it sends 1 steel over to this pulverizer, it's going to get a steel dust. Now, of course, this does need to be connected to the system. For that, we are going to need more of this Flux cable here, which thankfully we can make a fairly decent amount of. And now that our controller is down here, we should just be able to run from the controller across and then maybe up and over to those ME interfaces, which are here. I do want to make sure that the blocks underneath them are empty. Now, much like everything else from AE2, you do only have to connect one of these up like this, and then the this one will be connected because it's connected to the other one, if that makes sense. So we'll do this, and we'll do something like this, and those should now both be connected, and if we come back over to our system, we should be able to see that steel dust is now craftable. Nice. Now, in order for this to work, we do need to get those ender chests. So let me go back over here, let me grab the blaze rods, and then let's quickly see if we can't make one more ender chest here. We can. Nice. Now, I'm going to connect this up to our pre-existing Ender Chest setup because it's already running and already capable of importing items into the system. And right now, you'll see that whilst we are pulling a lot of items in, the Ender Chest is not yet at full capacity. So what I think we will do is we'll put an Ender Chest maybe just directly beneath the pulverizer, actually, like this. We do need to make sure, now that I mention it, that this Ender Chest is set to the correct frequency and is also locked, of course, to our network. So as per usual, we'll whack a diamond nose on the front. Wait for it to close. There we go. And are we using white, blue, white? We are indeed using white, blue, white. That's fine. We can get one more blue dye, and we can throw that onto the top, like so. And so now, if we set the bottom here to output, and we turn auto output on, this should just work. We are going to need to get another flux point as well to provide power to this. That shouldn't be too difficult, although that is what I always say, and I feel like we never have enough to make it happen. Thankfully, this time around we do. Good stuff. Let's put you down right about here, and then we'll set this to lappy power, and let's give this a try. So if I say that I want 10 steel dust, next, it's going to say we're missing steel. That could be the case. It is the case. Again, we've got a slight problem here with the fact that steel is being made, I think, over here, and again, the system doesn't quite have access to that. Let me take some away for now. Back over here, we also might have to change the pattern now that I think about it, because the pattern, I think, is using the wrong kind of steel. But let me give this a try. If I put this back in the system and I say that I want 5 steel dust, does that work? It doesn't. Okay, so in this scenario, the pattern is trying to use a different kind of steel. If we put the pattern back in here, I think we should be able to change that to make it right. If we just do this and swap out the Beyond Earth steel for all the ore steel, we can re-encode that pattern, and that should now work. Let's put it back in over here, and let's try that again. So if I want 5 steel dust, and next, and start, it should send 5 steel over to the pulverizer. It's then going to slowly but surely turn that steel into steel dust, and then because the Ender Chest here is hooked up over here with an importer, all of that steel then gets imported back around into the system, and we have automated steel dust. Oh, and it turns out the Twitch chat is right. We actually don't need the Ender Chest. I was under the impression this was required in the newer versions of Applied Energistics 2, but it turns out that it's not. You can, in fact, just export the items to the ME pattern provider, and that also works. So in here, I've just changed the back to be input and output with auto eject on. We can do the same here as well. And now if I once again go to request a steel dust, which you can do, by the way, by middle mouse clicking. By default, if you go to options, controls, keybinds, and type in sort inventory, this by default is set to middle mouse click like this. And if this is set to middle mouse button, which it is by default in this pack, then the middle mouse buttoning inside of the ME crafting terminal won't work. If you just get rid of this and reset it or bind it to something else, you can then go back into your terminal, and then you can just middle mouse on the steel dust. If you don't go through that process, then you're going to have to just take all the steel dust out before you can craft it, which is a bit of a pain. And so either way, now if we go and request another steel dust, start, you'll see over here, the steel gets sent, it gets pulverized, and then it should get ejected to the ME pattern provider, which then just places it back into the AE2 system. So now what we need to do is kind of expand this a lot to include all of the recipes for the resonant integral component, right? We need to teach the pattern provider here how to make the integral component itself and all of the previous tiers of integral component. We need to set up some kind of system to make any alloys we don't already have, and we also need to teach it how to make things like hardened glass, which should be pretty doable. Just like what we did just now for the steel dust, we can do the same thing for hardened glass. We can go ahead and search it up in JEI. You can put the items in manually, but it's often just easier to shift-click it in and then press encode. Drop that in right about here, like that. And then again, make sure the back here is set to input and output with auto-eject set to on. And at that point, the only thing we need is power in both of these. And for that, of course, we can just grab a flux duct and run that over like so. And now, if that's working, which it is, we should be able to do the exact same thing for hardened glass. Let's say we want to make 1. It is going to make 2 because you have to make them in sets of 2, but if we click start, it should send all of the required items to the induction smelter. Of course, we do want to make all of these machines much faster, but eventually it should produce the hardened glass and it should put it into the system. Nice. So now the only problem we run into is that, as I mentioned a few times today, we don't have access to everything that we need to have access to via our Applied Energistics 2 system, which is a problem, right? Things like Invar are going to be needed, and we don't really want to have to teach our system to craft that again when we already have it made over here. Things like glass, we would love to have access to, things like steel as well, and steel gears. And so what I think I'm going to do is kind of change the way our system currently works. Right now, we have all of these drawers out here that are all holding these items, right? The steel, for example, over here is here, but it's not actually going anywhere from here. We've got a filtered link cable that then pulls the steel out and sends it to where it needs to go. For example, up here, we don't even use an item cable here, we just use an export cable, and so this steel could be anywhere. And so what I think we're going to do to give our system access to things like that steel is grab an import cable. This time I want an import cable from the Simple Storage Network mod, and instead of... Oh, that's not working. Let me take these out and these out because we've got no free space anymore, which means there's nowhere for anything to go. Also, we don't have any import cables. For that, we just need a barrel, and boom. And my plan, basically, is to just move this steel drawer. Instead of having it over there, I'm going to move it all the way back over to here. So we're not going to put our steel in a compacting drawer, I don't think, because I don't want to back up on too much of it. But basically, if we swap out one of these drawers here for steel, like this, and if we get rid of the link cable over here and replace it with an import cable on the induction smelter itself, like that, that should have the same effect. Now, basically what should happen is, as soon as we take any steel out of the steel drawer that is over here, right now there's 64 in there, if we take some out, it should get pretty quickly refilled. There we go, it's back up at 64, as you can see at the top, and it's just taken that steel out of the induction smelter, and nothing else has really changed. Everything that needs to access steel can still access steel, because over here, the steel gears are still being made because the Simple Storage Network does still have access to the drawers that are in our drawer controller network over here. And so if we do that for kind of all of our drawers, we have the added benefit of giving our Applied Energistics system also access to that steel as well. So now going forward, our AE2 system is going to have access to the exact same steel that our Simple Storage Network system has as well. There are one or two situations in which this doesn't quite work as well. For example, these drawers that are on top of these crafting tables, these kind of need to stay here because they're required in order to actually complete the crafts. And so for the lead plates, which we probably don't need to have access to in the system, and for the aluminum plates and the glass, we're not going to be able to do that, but for everything else, we should be able to make that happen. Again, we can probably move Invar over as well. We can get rid of another drawer, let's say you, and of course I'm just going to pick these up in a second. We're not going to leave them hanging out on the ground, and then we can replace that with a network link cable. And so let me quickly go through and kind of replace basically all of our drawers with import cable, and also see if we can figure out what we're going to do with things like glass. Alright, so not too long later, and I've moved over quite a lot of the drawers that we previously had over here. I've not quite moved over everything, because there are some things that I just don't think we're going to need to autocraft with. Like uranium sheet metal really isn't used for anything else other than the production of these Technium Ingots. The same is kind of true with the infused crystalline here, but a lot of other stuff I have moved over. I've moved over all of the tiers of Technium apart from the Hellish, because the Hellish, of course, does need to stay here to allow the laser IO setup to work and prevent us from just burning a lot of our resources. But over here, we've got all of our Techniums. We've got quite a lot of the alloys that we were making, like bronze, Signalum, and steel. We've also got some of the gears. We've got the atomic alloys. We've got the amethyst shards. And we've got the Invar down here as well. So that's all well and good. I did end up just putting an import cable onto this induction smelter. So right here, this is the one that we're using to make glass. And right now, the induction smelter is sending glass both to this drawer to keep this setup here going, making the glass bottles, but also any excess glass that we produce is getting pulled via an import cable all the way around and over into this drawer here. So we're still getting that glass, which is good. We are not making sand fast enough because of the fact that a lot of our sand is being used over here to make soul sand. So it takes a lot of sand to make the soul sand, and so we're not really making it quick enough. There are a few things we could do, of course, to make that faster. We could replace the capstones here with netherite capstones. That would make it twice as fast. But I think we're probably just going to have to set up multiple more sand miners to keep up with the amount of sand that's required. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Another thing we're not doing currently is we're not importing the glowstone here either, but I think that's fine. I think we can kind of fix that one just by grabbing some glowstone, and instead of using a filtered link cable here, we can just swap this straight out for a import cable. So we'll probably do the same thing with sand as well. We'll just get rid of this, we'll throw down a filtered import cable like that, and then if we get another compacting draw, we can add glowstone to the wall over here, and then nothing should really change. As far as a compacting draw goes, I am fairly certain that we have everything we need to make one. We do indeed, and of course we want to make sure that is framed, and from there we want to make sure that we have our smooth stone and our dark oak, which we are running a little low on, but that's fine. Cool. And for now, we'll place that down somewhere over here, like this, and like that. Cool. And we'll make sure that is locked, of course, with the old draw key. And so now the system has access to glowstone, and eventually we'll do the same thing with like sand and clay and gravel. We'll just import them all to this storage draw setup over here. So one other thing I did over here, I made another multi-servo press with a gear working die, because I believe that with these 3 machines, we should now be able to fully automate the production of these resonant integral components. So if we're going to do that, we're going to need more blank patterns. Did we have everything to make more blank patterns? I think the answer was no, but never mind, we totally do. I thought we were out of, oh no, we did, but we didn't have the glowstone, of course. So now that we have the glowstone back in here, let's encode the final pattern. We'll start here and work backwards. So we'll get this and we'll put you in here. So now the system knows how to make the integral component, but of course, if we try and request this, it's going to say that we're missing certain ingredients. So we need to go through and teach it how to make the other steps. For example, the previous tier of pattern and the previous tier before that. We'll encode both of those and throw them in over here. Then, starting with the first tier of pattern, our system already has glass, thanks to our automation with the glass on the right-hand side over there, the fact that our system is making glass automatically. Gold gears, I think, are the only thing that our system doesn't currently know how to make. Invar we already have. Again, it's being made automatically for us. Redstone, of course, we have. We need to teach our system how to make gold gears. So for gold gears, we need to go to the processing mode, and we need to do this. Now, you'll see by default, it's put the gear working die in here. We don't want that in there, so you can just left-click to get rid of that. If you leave that in, it's going to think that it needs to send a gear working die to this machine, and it doesn't. It just needs to send 4 gold to get 1 gear. Again, this is set to input and export to the back. Auto export is set to on, so that should be taken care of. And now our system should be able to make, I think, the first tier of integral components. Let's give that a try. Middle mouse click, next, and start. We've got 9, and now we've got 10. Perfect. It's just that easy. Again, we already had some gold gears. If we didn't have any, though, it should make them for us. Let me give that a quick try. We get rid of you. We'll try that again. Next, and start. Over here, we can see gold gear is being made, and then over here, it's going to get used to make that 11th integral component. Perfect. Speaking of which, we might as well go and make these just a little bit faster. Of course, we will replace those with higher tier integral components in the future. But now we can look at the next tier here. For this, our system doesn't actually know how to make electrum just yet. We already have advanced technium coming in, and we don't have Signalum gears. So the Signalum gears are the exact same as the gold gears in code. Thankfully, Signalum is already being made automatically, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. Over here, we just need to put you in like this. And then for electrum, all we need to do is teach our system how to make it, which is a case of going to the induction smelter, shift-clicking that in code, and then over here behind the induction smelter, we can put in the recipe for electrum. And with that, that should be everything for the reinforced integral components. And so again, if I go ahead and request one and start, it made it. Nice. Let's see if we can request 2 more of those. Next, and we can't because we don't have enough Signalum, which is interesting. Let me go and check what the bottleneck is over here. So Signalum is being made in here. It looks like the bottleneck is kind of just speed, because the Signalum is being made and it's being used, it's just not being made fast enough. That is completely fine. We can, of course, take one of these out and throw it in instead of this. And then another thing that I would, of course, like to teach our system how to make is the flux linkage amplifiers. These are going to make our machines much faster. To do this, we need lead gears and electrum plates. So we can encode the pattern here, and we can put that over there. But for it to work, we're going to need to get lead gears taught, which is easy enough because we already have the multi-servo press ready to go. The difficult part, or the slightly more difficult part, is going to be the electrum plates, because for the electrum plates, we're going to have to get yet another multi-servo press, because we can't make plates with this one because it has the gear working die in it. Thankfully, though, getting another multi-servo press is just as simple as getting 2 more Constantan gears. Constantan we do have, and if we just drop 8 into here, like so. That should slowly but surely get us the gears we need, at which point we can just set up another one of these pattern providers, let's say right about here, with another multi-servo press that's going to go down kind of right next to the pre-existing one. Like that. Nice. We can then run power over the top, like so, and we can quickly teach our system in here how to make those electrum plates in code. And we'll throw that in over here just as soon as we give that a quick rotate to point the right way. Fantastic. Drop you in, and then we are going to have to connect this up to the system because right now this is not connected. There are two ways we could do that. We could run the cable underneath, or we could run the cable like that. I think that's better just because it means we don't have to get rid of like the base of the platform. I think it would look a little weird if there was no Darkhawk log there. And actually though, one thing we could do is we could get some facades, and that's probably a good reason to show off how the facades work. Let me get rid of this, this, and this. Let's actually get rid of this log, and then let's run the cable underneath, like this. And then with AE2, if you want to cover the cables, you need what are known as anchors. These ones right here, the cable anchors. They're made using a nether quartz cutting knife, which is real easy to make. It is just 2 nether quartz, 2 sticks, and 1 iron, and then you craft that with iron to make these cable anchors. You can then take the cable anchors and craft 4 of them around a given block. For example, the Darkhawk log here. You can then take that facade and you can just right-click it onto the cable, and it covers it up. It's not perfect in this scenario because it's not got the right side on this side, but for the most part, it does the job, and I think that looks perfectly fine. And so now we should be basically good to go on here. Let's set the back to input and output with the auto eject on, and we should be able, I think, to request those flux linkage amplifiers. Let's see if our system can make 3 of those for us and start. It totally can. Look at that. Fantastic. And then now back over here, we can speed up the production of the Signalum like that to hopefully start making that a fair bit faster so that hopefully we can start to back up on it. And then once we start to back up on it, we can of course use it to make the reinforced integral components. It does appear that part of the thing limiting us here is the speed of our export cable. So down here we have this export cable exporting the required items, but it's not being exported fast enough. Thankfully we do have these speed upgrades available, and so hopefully if we do that, that should keep this stocked up and should keep it running at a decently fast speed. And while we wait for more Signalum to come in, we can look at doing the final bits of autocrafting for the resonant integral component. For that, we've already done hardened glass. We just need to teach it lumium gears and enderium ingots. So for lumium gears, we need to teach it how to make lumium, which is just like Signalum. This time it is made with advanced technium, silver, and tin, all of which we should have automatically coming in. We can put that in over here. Fantastic. Then you get the idea. We can just go ahead and teach it how to make the aluminum gear, get rid of the gear working die, encode, and drop that in over here. And then now it's just a case of getting the enderium is again made in the induction smelter. We want the recipe that uses actual ender pearls, I think. So we want not ender dust, but ender pearls, and we want lead ingots as well. So you can kind of just swap these out on the fly, like this, and encode. The diamond dust I don't think is optional. I think you have to use diamond dust, not just regular diamonds. That's fine though, because we can make diamond dust by just pulverizing a diamond. So we can take this recipe for the pulverized diamond, place it into the pulverizer pattern provider, and then take the other recipe for the enderium ingots and put that behind the induction smelter. And with that, we're almost good to go. I think in terms of actually requesting the integral component, we might be able to request one. Yeah, this is what I was going to get at though. The thing we're missing now is ender pearls. Thankfully though, I think we should be fine. So over here, we have ender ore being produced. We've had ender ore being produced for a while. We need to take that ender ore and we need to pulverize it. So over here, I don't know if we added it before or not, but what we should do is we should go to our extraction card and add ender ore. Yeah, no, it's already added. Perfect. So all I am going to do is I'm going to get an extracting conveyor belt. I'm going to place that extracting conveyor belt right about here. And then using our hammer, we can rotate that to extract. That should just start making the ender pearl fragments. All we need to do now is give the ender pearl fragments a draw. Also, we could do with getting at least one more ender pearl fragment because you do need at least 2 of them in order to produce the shards. So let's do this. Let's take those, and we're just going to give them their own draw over on the main platform. Let's say right about here. Those are going to start filling up slowly but surely from the system. And all we're going to do is we're just going to teach the system how to craft those shards into ender pearls. So if we do this and we encode, we can then put that in here with the rest of the crafting patterns. And now, should we ever need ender pearls, the system should be able to craft them using those ender pearl fragments. And so once again, let's see if we don't have what it takes to actually make this. It looks like now we do have what it takes. And so if we click start, it should start doing all of the crafting required to make it happen. There's quite a bit of crafting that needs to be done. You'll see that there's a lot of stuff here that's all working away. We're pulverizing the diamonds. We're making the lumium here, I believe it is, that's being made. Again, all of this could be made faster with the upgrades, but that's kind of the whole point of making these upgrades. The lumium is then turned into lumium gears over in the multi-servo press, and then all of that should come together finally into one of these resident integral components. And there it is. Nice. So our system does know how to make these now, albeit somewhat slowly. But again, that's kind of the whole point of having these. I am being told that the compacting drawer works for these ender pearl fragments. That would actually be substantially better than what we currently have. So if we quickly grab another one of these and, of course, configure it to look how we want it to look, I think we can, instead of teaching our system to craft the ender pearls itself, which does work, but is just like a needless extra step, if we do this and this, I'm being told by the Twitch chat that we should be able to do this and this. That totally works. Nice. And so what we can do is we can just lock that like so, move this over to, let's say, here, and then we can kind of just get rid of this drawer. You know, we can move all of these back over into here, and so now all the new fragments are going to go into there, and we can just get rid of this pattern. You can shift right click to clear a pattern, and then we can put it back in here for future use. We can then unlock this drawer. Fantastic. And we can give that a deconstruction. Perfect. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's upgrade these machines as we go. How many of these integral components can I request? If I wanted 5, that might be too many bytes. Never mind, it's still only 535 bytes. We're limited on Signalum and ender pearls, which is kind of to be expected. Integral components. Can I make more of the previous tier? I guess not. That's where the Signalum is from, right? The Signalum is coming in though, which is good. If I wanted 2, still not enough, eh? What about just 1? Also not enough. Interesting. It really is the Signalum that's slowing us down, which makes me think I should probably take this away, and I should probably put that resonant integral component, our first one, over in the induction smelter making Signalum. If I put that in here, that is kind of going to be as fast as it can get. There is a higher tier of integral component from a Thermal Expansion add-on mod, but it doesn't do much. It goes from 4x to 4.5x, which is not a huge jump. The first tier is 2x, the second is 3x, the third is 4x, then this add-on one only goes to 4.5x, but to make it, we need Dragon Steel gears, and these require Hellish Technium, which kind of makes them, I think, a bit prohibitively expensive, especially considering each Hellish Technium requires at least one of these singularities. So I don't think it's worth investing in them for that tiny little bump. What might be worth investing in is the higher tier Flux linkage amplifiers. You'll see here the add-on mod also adds higher tiers of these as well. Right now we have just the basic version, which is from Thermal Expansion, but all of these ones here from Thermal Extra do allow you to pump the base power up even higher. But again, it's not massively higher. Like it goes from 100% to 105%, maybe 110 or 120. The one that's 105% requires Niter Dust, which is easy enough, and then Soul-Infused Gears. The Soul-Infused Gears are Invar, Soul Sand Dust, and Apatite, and Soul Sand Dust is just pulverized soul sand. We could probably make those happen, but I really don't know how much the extra, like, 5 or 15% is worth it, to be honest, compared to just how it is right now. It does look like power could be part of our bottleneck here. I think part of the reason for that is that right now we're just using these lapidary dynamos still for this setup, which is not what we should be using at this point in time. We should definitely have another flux point over on this side of the base. It's also probably going to be in our best interest to teach our system how to make these flux points as well, so we don't have to keep manually crafting those again and again. If we do something like that, hopefully that's going to start to fill up on power again. It is indeed fantastic. We can leave the lapidary dynamos there. They're not really hurting anybody, but that looks like it's working. And so now back over here, how are we doing on our ability to make another resonant integral component? Still light on Signalum. We're just using so much of it in the crafting table here, like it's backing up so much and it's just not coming in fast enough, but I think it should be backing up now. I think we are gaining more Signalum than we're losing now. It might just take a little while for all of that to come through. And so I'm probably going to move the molecular assembler and the pattern provider. I'll probably put those over here. We might even end up with multiple of these down. Like I mentioned before, you can kind of surround these with multiple pattern providers. Although, what I might end up doing is kind of just having like maybe 4 or 5 of these molecular assemblers, each with maybe 1 or 2 pattern providers on them to kind of get a nice balance between speed and capacity. For now, though, we can kind of pivot our attention towards the next questline, this Essence questline here. To unlock this, we need 4 blocks of black iron, 4 ultimate technium, and a blank research paper. That seems pretty straightforward. Black iron we have in abundance over here. We can go ahead and grab a full stack and use that to craft the 1, 2, 3, and 4 blocks that we need. And from there, we are after essence, I believe. We need to just get ourselves the research paper, which requires regular paper, which we can make. Never mind, we can't make it because of the fact that over here, it's not connected to the simple storage network. That is fixable, though. Obviously, if we do something like this and kind of get rid of this guy, we can do the same thing we've been doing with all of our other drawers today, and then we can move this over to the main wall, and then the AE2 system is going to have access to it. So let's just, I guess, swap out this guy. For now, we'll do this, and we'll do this. Fantastic. Now we should be able to make some more paper. We totally can. And with that, we can make ourselves another blank research paper, and we can make the book. Fantastic. That is going to unlock the mod that is called Essence for us, and it also gives us a game stage unlock. Fantastic. So I believe the idea here is that we are going to buy some more ore, because the basic ore essence here is made by pulverizing essence ore. Over in the Ores Are Us questline, there is an option to buy the essence ore for 12 tech books. Right now, we have 2 tech books. However, of course, as we've done many times now, we can go ahead and craft some more. And if we just craft 10, that gets us to the perfect amount required to buy essence ore. Fantastic. And we can then set up a miner on the lower platform for this essence ore. It does require a tier 8 support frame, but that is completely fine. We can put it down next to our pre-existing setup. In fact, we could even put it right here, I guess, because we already have this miner setup right here. We do have 52 steel gears in there for some reason, which is not completely necessary, but if we were to do something like this and just build that all the way up, we already have a miner down. We can just replace those steel gears, and we should be good to start getting the essence required, and all we need to do is just actually, whoops, do I have to lock this? I think I might have to lock this, if I can lock it fast enough. The trouble with locking it, though, is that we actually need to unlock it so that we can get the essence in. That's fine. Let me get rid of this link cable temporarily, because we're probably going to replace that with an import cable anyway, because we're going to do the same thing that we've done with glowstone. We just need to make sure we actually get our first essence and put it into the drawer so that we can lock it. Once we have the essence... Oh, actually, never mind. No, we don't want to do that. That is my bad. Get rid of this. I completely forgot. We need to extract this, and we need to set it up to be pulverized, because we want to pulverize this ore in order to get the crystals. So if I put these in here, that gets us the basic ore essence, which I think we might as well add to our wall up here. Good stuff. And then from there, did that complete the quest for us? It did. From there, we can craft the essence station and the essence upgrader. The essence upgrader requires 4 of the basic essence ore. How much did we just get? We got 5. And so I think we have what it takes to make our first essence upgrader. We totally do. And the essence station is just some iron and another one of those crystals. That seems very doable. Do we only have... Oh, we got one left. Not quite sure why that didn't shift click in, but either way, we have the essence station. Okay. And with that, we can then make advanced ore essence. So the advanced ore essence is made using an essence upgrader with a block of essence ore. So we have to craft 8 of those together to make a block of essence ore, and then from there we can then run that through the essence station with the essence upgrader. I see. So does this require power, is my first question. I don't think it does. I think we basically just take the essence that we can get from pulverizing this. Again, we take some more, and of course we will upgrade that with higher tier caps in just a second. But if we do this, and we can just get rid of you for now, that's going to get us more basic ore essence. And then with that basic ore essence, we can then craft it, just like this iron, into basic ore essence blocks, and then put those in here. Cool. And that makes us the next tier. I see. And I have a feeling it's going to be the same again after the fact. We take these, we craft them up, and then using that crafting up, we can then run that again through another essence upgrader, I see, to get the elite essence. That makes a lot of sense. And then as we get up to the higher tier essences, we can use that to make like nether stars. That's actually pretty cool. We can use a resource duplicator. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's get this essence ore connected up to this conveyor belt. All right, so we've got this all set up. All of the ores are being extracted. I've thrown down some netherite blocks here just to make it nice and fast, and I've added the essence ore to the whitelist over here so that we're now sending it around to our pulverizers and it's being pulled into the system, and we've already got 735. Nice. It looks like we're going to need a lot of this stuff though, because looking at the recipe further down, we need at least one nether star to make a beacon, but then we need at least 4 beacons to start with the space program questline for this book right here, for the Beyond Earth book. And so we're going to need at least 4 nether stars. The first nether star has to be made in here, in the ultimate crafting table, with elite mob essence, advanced mob essence, and basic mob essence. The essence can be made using an essence converter and the essence station, which is what we have here. The essence converter looks pretty similar, but it requires at least 1 elite essence ore. Okay, so if I put in some of the... I might want to automate this, to be fair. We could probably do with finding a place to set up some automation for this. Annoyingly, it does look like the essence upgrader is like limited on how many uses you get out of it, which is unfortunate. Oh, of course, this is not how you do this, Isaac. You do it like this, and then we do this. Perfect. So we can put these in, and of course, we can use our time in a bottle here to make this a good deal faster. Really as fast as we like, actually, I think. And just kind of transfer all of those into the higher tier, and there we go. We've kind of broken that that first tier of essence upgrader. Thankfully, making more of them seems pretty straightforward. And then, if I'm not mistaken, we want to do the exact same thing here again. We want to put you in there. We want to craft these red ones down into the red blocks. And then from there, we want to craft those in here, whoops, like this, into the elite essence ore. Okay, yeah, that makes complete sense. Let's get you, let's get you, let's get you. Let's make sure we claim all of these rewards as we go for our free tech books, which are not really worth that much in this day and age, but we still want to have them. And then now we can make the converter because we have at least 1 elite essence ore. The converter, though, needs to go into a different machine, right? Oh, no, it's the same machine. It's the essence station. I see. Okay, so now we can convert these into essence. And is it a 1-to-1 in terms of making essence? It is. Okay, cool. So if I put this in like that, I can do this to make 1 basic ore or basic mob essence. We can do the same with the advanced ore to make 1 advanced mob essence. And then we can do the same again, of course, with the elite ore to make the elite ore essence. Cool. And that's those 3 complete. Fantastic. And so now we just need to get a bunch of them because we need to get a decent amount of elite mob essence, a little bit of basic, and a medium amount of advanced. Okay, that seems completely fine. Over here, we are now backing up on Signalum, which is good to see. We are running into a slight problem, and that slight problem is that you can't make many of these resonant integral components if we only have a drawer that can hold 64. And so what I might do here is I might grab another drawer upgrade. Specifically, I might go with maybe one of the iron upgrades. These ones right here. These increase the capacity by 4 times the base value. If I put this in here, that's going to increase it from being able to hold 1 stack to being able to hold 4 stacks, which I think is kind of a good middle ground between the default 2048 and the downgraded 64 that we were currently working with. With that done, though, now we should be able to hopefully start to make more of these resonant integral components, and I'm going to kind of just keep making these. I want to put them into basically all of the machines that we have. The same's kind of true with the Flux linkage amplifiers. Can I make like 16 of these? I guess 15 is probably a better number because we use them in sets of 3. The answer is yes, but the reason it's not letting me make this is that right now we only have 1 crafting storage. So right now we can only request 1 craft at a time. If we got another crafting storage, though, we would be able to do a 2nd craft at a time. That's probably not really worth investing in just yet because of the fact that our machines are so slow. And so even though it would let me request another craft, we wouldn't be able to do much with that because of the fact that we kind of just be waiting on our machines still to complete their crafts. And there we go, we've got 5 integral components. Nice. So I'm going to use these to make all of these machines faster first. And then from there we can go and look at putting some into these other machines. But since we swapped out to AE2, it looks like we've been doing pretty well. Like there's not much of a backlog here. We have a lot of ores in here now, but there's kind of just 1 of every ore. There's not a ton of ores in here. Of course, we still got the osmium and stuff, and I don't know why the blaze and the iron dust are in there. They shouldn't be. But for the most part, it seems like it's working pretty well. So I will still look to upgrade the speed on these, but for the most part, they're doing all right. And of course, now we can look at using the Flux linkage amplifiers. We can make some more of those as well to make everything nice and fast. But yeah, I think at this point, basically all we need to do is take the essence that's coming in and just start running it through the essence station here. a few times to get a bunch of elite mob essence, to get some advanced mob essence, and to get some basic mob essence so we can craft our first nether star. Once we have our first nether star, it looks like we can then just use 10 elite mob essence after that to get all future nether stars. I assume the nether star here isn't used up in the craft. I assume it just turns like 10 essence into a second nether star. I assume that's how that works. But yeah, let me see if I can't get the stuff required to make this craft happen. And we could potentially, I was going to say use this crafting table, but this one's already kind of in use. That's fine. We can make another one. They're not particularly expensive, I don't think. All right, so not too long later, actually, the time in the bottle makes this substantially faster. We do still have 8 hours left in our bottle, which is very nice indeed. And so now if we take our essence upgrader, I think it is. No, maybe our essence converter? I keep getting them confused. Yeah, the converter is what we want. I've already converted 17 advanced mob essence and 8 basic mob essence. We just need to convert basically all of this elite ore into elite essence, which again, we should be able to make light work of with the time in a bottle here. And I think with that, we should be good to make, I think basically all of the essence required to make our beacons for the Beyond Earth unlock. We just need to get one more of the essence converters because we are now completely out, but that is fine. Making another one of these is not a problem. Let's throw you back in there with you and boom, fantastic. So now that that is taken care of, let's quickly craft up another set of these. I think we needed 8 of the basic crafting tables to make 4 of the advanced crafting tables, to make 2 of the elite crafting tables, to make 1 of the ultimate crafting tables. Fantastic. With that, we should be able to look at making our first nether star using this recipe right here. We totally can. And boom, nice. So with that, I'm hopeful now that if we want to make future nether stars, we can just use the 10 elite mob essence inside of the resource duplicator. How expensive is the resource duplicator? A little expensive is the answer. And annoyingly, I've converted all of my... Oh, so we can craft it back. Interesting. So I can do this. That's still going to throw a wrench in the works because now we don't have enough elite mob essence, but we can get some more in a second. That's fine. And then we can use that to make the resource duplicator, which I'll put here for now. And then in here, if I do this and this, I assume that's going to get me 2 more nether stars. It does. Perfect. And so now we just need to get like 6 more elite mob essence to actually make the next set of nether stars, which is going to be completely fine, I think. We'll take the converter away. We'll make a few more essence upgraders. This was a lot easier than I thought it would be, mostly because the time in a bottle just makes it so fast. Automating it could be worth it. I'm not quite sure at this point how many nether stars we're going to need, but for the time being, we can just do this, and then, of course, using our time in a bottle again, make this 128 times faster, and then that very quickly burns through all of the resources, and we can kind of keep putting these in, keep taking these out, keep crafting them down, and just repeat the process until we have enough of the elite essence, which in this case is it's kind of basically done. We swap you for the essence upgrader, and by the essence upgrader, I mean the essence converter. There we go. Boom, and boom. And with that, we should have our 4th nether star. I guess I should be sensible here, and I should keep at least 1 nether star. If I craft that current nether star into a beacon, that means I have to do this recipe again in the future, which is like the less efficient way of doing it. So I guess we should keep 1 nether star in the system for the time being, and just go ahead and make, what, like 4 more elite mob essence if we can, to make that extra nether star. And boom, there we go. All right, that's going to get us our 5th nether star, which we're going to use as our 4th nether star. Fantastic. And with that, we should now be able to start making these beacons here. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Good stuff. Now, there is the tier 10 support frame. The tier 10 support frame is going to need a lot of beacons, which I guess is where automating this could come in useful. What do we need the tier 10 support frame for? I assume we are going to need it. I think it's going to be for Beyond Earth ores. So bedrock can be mined. 9x compressed cobblestone can be mined, which we do have to get, by the way. Then there's some of these Beyond Earth ores here that we're going to unlock going forward in the space program section. So down here, I'm pretty sure we're going to need some of those ores for the production of like Desh and Calorite. I think those are the ores we're going to unlock, and I think those are required, in large amounts actually for the production of voided technium. So I do think that potentially at the start of the next episode, we could look at automating the production of like this elite essence here to automate the production of nether stars. I think that's going to be very useful for us to get. And now that we have the ability to autocraft going forward, we can, of course, go ahead and make all of our machines as fast as is humanly possible here with these flux linkage amplifiers. And we can also work, of course, on making all of our other machines all around the base as fast as we want, because power-wise, we're doing completely fine for now. And as we move forward, now that we have access to this autocrafting from Applied Energistics, it should make doing this final tech questline just that much easier. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Techopolis 2 there.